NC Pork, raising the bacon, raising the bar.
Our next guest led Duke University to its second highest win total in program history last year with 9 victories. We now get to describe him as the second-year head coach of the Blue Devils. Manny Diaz, welcome back to the North Carolina Sports Network. How are you, Coach?
Thanks. Great to be back in Charlotte. Excited to get the new season kicked off.
It's great to have you. What is different about how you feel today about your team going into year 2 compared to whatever mix of emotions you had a year ago, where you only had 7 or 8 months to prepare for that first season that turned out so well?
Year 1 is always about unknowns. You know, you don't really know what you have. You don't really know how you stack up against the rest of the league. And you don't really know how the guys are going to perform under pressure. And learned so much during the fall about what makes our guys at Duke special, how hard they want to be coached, how they want to learn, and how they want to do it exactly the way that we teach it. And I think that pulled us through in a lot of those fourth quarter wins we had.
Did they surprise you, given what you had seen in the 8 months leading up to the season?
I don't know if surprise is the right word, because people had mentioned, you know, you'll see on game day these kids have a superpower, and I was in awe watching how hard they play for each other and their mental fortitude.
I saw you said that you believe the new college football landscape. We've got the $20+ million in revenue sharing. I know football doesn't get all of that. We still have name, image, likeness. We have the transfer portal. You believe that it benefits Duke collectively. How so?
Well, first of all, we're a place that attracts young men that want to come for something other than just football. And that means that they want to stay for something other than just football. There's really no other school here today or anywhere else around that knows, and if their roster will be back the next year. Not that we know that our roster is back. No one's guaranteed of that with the portal. But the parents who drop their sons off at Duke, they want to see him walk across that stage, and they want to see him graduate from Duke. And I think retention is really going to be the key to success going forward. We had one of the fewest outgoings in the transfer portal this year. We were able to retain our best players, and I think I'd like to take credit for that, but I really think that's Duke University and our gravitational pull.
I don't know if coaches are allowed to answer this question out loud, but I'll give you a true or false. When I look at your schedule, to me, the Clemson Tigers do stand above not just Duke, but the rest of the league, just in terms of, man, they might have 4 first-round NFL draft picks, you know, shadowing Dabo Swinney here in Charlotte. But other than maybe Clemson, it feels like almost anybody can beat almost anybody. Through the coach's eyes, is that a true or false statement?
No, and I think the data backs it up. I think just over half of the games a year ago were a touchdown or less. If you look at our season last year, you know, winning close games, even my time at Miami, if you win your close games, you're going to finish high in this league. It's just the way it is, because the league is very highly competitive. There's a lot of great coaches and a lot of great players in this league, and it's going to come down to who can execute in the fourth quarter.
I know you have a lot of football between now and a trip to famous Death Valley, but what is different about your message to a team when you know you're a massive underdog versus a game where you say, hey, if we do what we know we can do, we're going to probably win this game?
Yeah, we try not to get into the storytelling. I think the thing I'm most proud of what we've accomplished at Duke so far is that our players believe that they are in control. That if we play our best, we can beat anybody who's playing their best. We don't need you to play poorly for us to win. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy. In fact, it's the opposite of easy. It's hard. But it allows us to know that when you play a great team, what a great player or a great team does, they capitalize on your mistakes more than a good or a mediocre team or a mediocre player does. But that's still your mistakes, which you're in control of.
You've been around the block. Like, you're still a young man in my eyes, but you've shared stories about Florida State and legendary coaches that surrounded you there. Of course, head coach at Miami. We enjoyed having you at NC State as an assistant coach. You've seen a lot. Were you surprised when you saw that a 6-time Super Bowl champion was taking over that program 8 miles down the road? And what are your thoughts about it now with them on the schedule every year and that guy making a transition from decades in the NFL to the college game?
I don't think I was surprised, because I know Bill enough to know that he's got coaching in him. And when there wasn't an opportunity in the league, that he wanted to get in somewhere. I think it's great for our league. Anything that raises the football profile of the ACC is good. You know, rising tide floats all boats. And even the same thing for us in the Triangle. I mean, that game should be a highlight game every year, and I hope that it is. Our expectation is always, I mean, look, Mac Brown was a hell of a coach, a national championship coach. So our expectation is those games are always going to be dogfights. They're always going to come down. I believe the last 3 either gone to overtime or been won on the last play of the game. And why would it be any different this year, regardless of who the coach is over there?
In men's basketball, nobody has to say out loud, that's our arch rival in Duke, Carolina. Is it the same in football, or do you view it differently?
No, I think that's fair. I think that's what you would want, right? And that's what the fans want. And that's why anything that brings more spotlight to that game, I think, benefits all programs.
I'm going to mention several players. You tell me who's missing from this list. We're going to get to chat with your guy Chandler Rivers here shortly, NFL prospect. Terry Moore, the safety next to him. Brian Parker, Wesley Williams. Those four guys are on every preseason list you can imagine, and understandably so. Who else comes to mind when you think of just the guys that you feel best about going into the 2025 season?
Well, and obviously I'll start with the quarterback, right? Darien Mensah, who I think has got really won the respect of our locker room and team. I think our guys believe that he gives us a chance to win every time we take the field. But there are a lot of other names. I think Vincent Anthony right across from Wes Williams has a chance to have a really, really special year, and Aaron Hall on the inside, same way. On offense, we brought Brian Parker here, but the experience now we finally have on our offensive line, Justin Pickett on the inside, again, is right on the all those lists of all whatever teams. I think he's got a chance to have a special year. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Samir Hagan's at wide receiver. Just the way he's been intentional with his work all offseason. He really finished last year on a high note, ran a kickoff back for a touchdown in the bowl game. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have a breakout year as well.
I've been on the sidelines at Wallace Wade Stadium many times. It is not the biggest place numerically, and yet your program, counting your predecessor, 16-3 at home over the last 3 years. That's incredible. How do you describe that home field? What all goes into that beyond obviously tens of thousands of people in the stands?
Right. Well, I know this. I know the ones who support Duke love Duke. You know what I mean? And so our fans are passionate about the success of our program. Our players just take a lot of pride. I mean, the first thing always you have to give the credit to the guys on the field, right? Usually teams that have good players that play well at home. But I think now they take real pride in that. And I think the 3 losses were all on the last play of the game or in overtime. So that's, you can't be a great program without winning your games at home. And I think that's our foundation for success.
You mentioned Darien Mensah, also here in Charlotte, right? You described him as the #1 quarterback available in the transfer portal back in December. What did you see on his Tulane video that made you draw that conclusion?
For a young guy, his poise in the pocket, his ability to extend plays either as a thrower or scrambling to throw or scrambling to run, which is an element that we lacked in our offense a year ago. And then the more we got to know about Darien, just who he was in the locker room, that we're sort of a unique band of guys at Duke, and our guys really love like-minded people, and they really feel that Darien is sort of one of them. And so the bond, as soon as he came into our program, it's been real, and the guys can feel it.
We don't get Darien today as an interviewee, so I'll ask you. I know he's the best guy to answer this question. What did he communicate to you about why he chose Duke over a lot of other options?
Well, first of all, academics did matter. He was at a really good academic school in Tulane and was looking for that. He had offers to go to SEC schools and all this and that. But what I really liked about Darien is he really believed in what we were doing. He saw the identity of our offense, even as inconsistent as we were a year ago. Wanted to throw the ball down the field. And really liked what we were doing scheme-wise and how, moving up to a Power 4 level could help his development and ultimately his goal of getting to play at the National Football League.
We've had a few head coaches here who love their starting quarterback, projected guy, but they were not at spring practice. How do you describe the value of having Darien for spring practice? And just remind us what the rules allow even beyond spring practice so that he has had, 7 months to prepare for this upcoming season?
You can't do a whole lot in the summer other than the 15 days of spring practice. And what's funny is we had our quarterback. We didn't really have most of his wide receivers. We brought in 2 transfer wide receivers that we think can have a great year this year. We brought in a transfer tight end that we think can have a big-time year. None of those guys were there for the spring. So what's been really important is in player-led practices, what they can do when coaches are not present to get the timing of the offense, that those guys can get out there and throw, which is what they did all summer.
I saved this for last on purpose. I'm a longtime friend of Art Chase. Now, I would personally trade Art Chase even as my friend for Sarah Fetters. But tell us just what you miss about Art. I know you're happy for him in his new role. And then go ahead and pump Sarah's tires if you'd like to.
Yeah, I don't know if that could be a trade, Art for Sarah. You know what I mean? Like, you might have to throw in some draft picks or something. I think the thing that stands out with Art was just his passion for Duke. It'd been there for so long, almost becomes, like the furniture in the back. And you just saw the success that we had a year ago and what that meant to him. And I was able to gain so much institutional knowledge from art. And I think that's been one of the great things about having Sarah come back, is because she had been at Duke. It is just such a unique place, and people who have not been inside those walls, and for them to have that understanding, it helps me as I'm completing my first lap and going into lap number 2 to really understand what makes this place tick and what makes it special.
For the record, the old saying is saving the best for last. Sarah put the David Glenn stop first. I don't know what that means if you save the best for last. But, Coach, thanks for always being accommodating. Appreciate you joining us again.
Of course, David. Thank you.